Okay, so we've all heard of ChatGPT. It's kind of everywhere now. But when it comes to financial services, the kind of public available version of ChatGPT might not be the best option. And we've got this concept of a private ChatGPT. Okay, so we're here just to kind of dig in a little bit to what that actually is and why you'd use it. But let's just start with the basics, right? Because I just want to clear up. Look, when we say a private ChatGPT, we're not talking about people trying to actually build their own large language model, costing them hundreds of millions, of pounds and running on enough power to run a city. We're talking about something else. All right. So can you just explain to us, what is a private ChatGPT and how does that compare to the publicly available kind of ChatGPT?
If you take OpenAI ChatGPT, that's kind of public, it's publicly available, it's on the internet. If you want to use it to maybe interrogate your data, you are uploading your data to OpenAI over the internet. A private ChatGPT is where the model kind of runs in your private network, sort of, in your office, let's say. So instead of uploading your data to the internet to some other company, you can use your existing data that's on your network, maybe even a database, a network drive, things that might be quite difficult to get into OpenAI or some of these other models. You can upload it or give your private ChatGPT access to connect to these directly, but it all happens in your private network. It doesn't go out to the internet, and it gives you an extreme level of control over what the model has access to, how it's responding, the way people are using it. So in terms of that security, compliance and risk statement, having a private ChatGPT is probably the best that you can go to out of the entire options of AI.
Okay, so that kind of takes us on to what are the key drivers, for having your own private ChatGPT. So again, let's just go through. Talked about security, keeping the data within your network, within your trusted boundaries. Let's just expand upon this a little bit more. What else are those key drivers for a business that would make them go down, that as a preferred route versus using the enterprise version of ChatGPT that's available on the internet?
So there's a number of reasons. One, if you do need to control that data residency, OpenAI's ChatGPT Enterprise only allows you to set Europe, like the entire zone of Europe, as your location for data, rather than the UK. So if you have specific data residency requirements, then a private ChatGPT model might be for you. Or if you had lots of data that you wanted to get into a model, but was only available inside your network, potentially it's an older kind of database. Maybe you do have things like network drives. It's not kind of readily available on the internet. You can't just create a kind of a feed into OpenAI Enterprise. It doesn't have any connectivity into your network. So a private ChatGPT makes it a lot easier to make those connections to your internal system, whilst giving you that control over exactly what it has access to, what data it uses in its responses. So it's that fine-grained control.
And are there additional benefits around being able to fine-tune or configure it differently?
Yes, so you can do what we like to call enrichment of the data. I don't think that's just a landwear term, that's how we describe it. So if you've got a great example of this is old PDFs. If you've got a lot of PDFs which have really valuable information that might be helpful for an AI to use as part of its response. But it's the old kind of PDFs where it's really a photo of, or a scan of a document rather than the actual text itself. You can put that through OCR, which basically converts that image to the actual text, so the model can actually understand that information. So there's a lot of fine-tuning you can do there, but it's not about building your own model. It's about leveraging one of the fantastic models that's already out there, like ChatGPT, and just kind of adding an extra layer on top of that with your parameters or your data, while still remaining in this bubble of your private network.
Makes perfect sense. Let's bring this to life, with a real example. Perhaps you could just give us a project that we've been working on. Talk to us a little bit about the type of clients, why they went down the road of a private ChatGPT, and how they're looking to use it and what they're looking to get out of it.
We had a fund manager who would typically look at hundreds of companies over several months, research, looking at a lot of documents, what's going on with the company, not necessarily just the numbers, earning call transcriptions, and broker report information on these companies. And they would distill that down into maybe a handful of companies that they would then do further research with the ultimate aim of deciding who to invest in. So that whole kind of life cycle took several months. But it was very text heavy, so reading a lot of reports, a lot of pages in a report that a person would have to consume, read through, take notes, make decisions. And something that is very text heavy is always perfect for, well, not perfect, but very good use case for AI, especially when it's kind of a defined process. But we had to address that security and compliance risk with them. They had data residency requirements. They wanted a lot of control over the AI model, what it could connect to. Some of this data wasn't public data, so we'd have to make sure that it could access that information and do it in a secure way. But also they needed that assurance that this information that they were going to put into it, which might be a mix of public data but also internal information, was not going to be used by the AI or the model for any other purposes apart from just being able to respond to them. So that was the use case for us to then go to them with this private option and build out this AI, go through this enrichment process on a number of documents, and being able to build an application, you could say, but it's not. We're not really building an application.
Or an agent, is it?
An agent, yes. So an agent that does something very specific with their information and the information that they want, other information that they want to bring, to give them the answers they need, to cut down that process significantly.
So they had probably these very experienced, expensive fund managers who have been spending quite a lot of their time going through a huge amount of information in a very inefficient process, very time intensive, very manual, and they've managed to speed all that up, and take all that away such that they can then actually focus on those particular companies that meet their criteria very quickly, and then get on with investing.
Exactly.
Great.